hello everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the podcast Cafe Chat. And today I've got two new guests with us today. We have Mr. Lewis.
Hello.
Where do you go to school, Lewis?
I go to school at Minh Secondary School.
Gotcha. And we have Miss Naomi, who also goes to school somewhere. Where do you go to school?
Lido Secondary School.
And today, obviously, last time we talked about TET because we were filming before TET, and it'd be kind of strange if we talked about it a second time. So today, since we're approaching Women's Day, our topic of discussion is, in general, women and moms. When I was young, in my arrogance, I thought that women would put on makeup and wear beautiful clothes and so on and so forth. For some reason, I assumed that was to impress men and boys.
What strange thoughts.
Yes, strange thoughts, arrogant thoughts. Unfortunately, rather common in the male of the species. Well, yeah, we're the human species, right? So historically, there's a little bit of truth in this, but it's actually a really complex kind of issue. And so rather than try to answer that myself, I'm going to turn to our one female representative here. Naomi, why do you think women tend to beautify themselves?
I think it's like the standards that society put for them to follow. It's not for them to follow, but it's just there. And since we were born, our parents has taught us as girls to behave and like to look cute. And yeah, we had a kind of thought in the olden days that women can't really do anything, and the only thing that they do to have a good family, to have a good life, is to be married off somewhere. And to be able to get married, then you've got to be either a little bit intelligent or beautiful. So like, I think the standards keep going on and on until today, that we have that beauty standards that most girls have to follow to be able to fit in. Because I think most women, they have FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah. You threw me that new lingo. I'm glad you translated that. I was processing. I could hear the gears grinding in my head. FOMO, I have to remember that. Everybody's saying that these days. A lot of the things that women do to accomplish this sort of societal enforcement of the ideal of beauty, frankly, look really uncomfortable. I don't know about you, Lewis, but do you want to wear high heel shoes?
No.
No. And if you look at historically, you've got like lotus feet and all kinds of things that are actually deforming. But fortunately, I mean, things like lotus feet were distinctly sort of men putting a patriarchal society, forcing it on women. But as society has evolved and it's not so dependent on the patriarchal men say kind of thing, and it's different, we see a lot of it, I think, from popular media. Would you guys agree, Lewis?
Yeah.
Yeah? Go ahead. What do you think?
I think people, they follow trends.
Mm-hmm.
They do beauty stuff to make them fit with other people. They fear missing out.
Yeah, again,
so
the FOMO.
I don't know what FOMO means.
The fear of missing out.
Yeah. And so they try to make them beautiful, although maybe they don't like to do it. They wear heavy makeups so that they would look good to other people. And nowadays they use filters and stuff like that. So they set unrealistic goals sometimes. But sometimes there are good reasons, like anti-aging. So they make themselves look youthful and
So you think
healthy.
looking younger is good?
No, I mean they use technologies to make them healthier.
Okay. I was like, okay, I'll get a face tuck because I'm starting to look old, right? Color my hair. Maybe I'll go with pink. Pink?
Oh.
All right.
Like hot.
You heard it here first. Nathan's going pink next time.
Yes.
Just kidding. That's
Red,
not gonna happen.
red.
Red hair. All right. Well, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we got influencers. That's a lot of what you were focusing on. And the influencers tend to use the filters and some of it, I mean, like they end up with these sort of bizarrely long legs and really super slim bodies. Then you see
They
a
post
picture.
themselves on Facebook, and when other people look at them, they're like, "Ooh, this guy's so beautiful."
Yeah, yeah, and then kids, especially young girls, feel like they need to emulate that, and it causes all kinds of problems, from eating disorders to body dysmorphia to well, plastic surgery, you know. And then it goes on to like the pop stars, like K-pop stars in particular. They're heavily made up and so on. And we got models and the fashion industry itself, right? They have they choose models that are super slim and tall and all that stuff. It's a lot for a woman of any age, a girl or a woman, to live up to. And so, do you think this is sort of an objectification of women? You know, turning them into objects in the eyes of society, objectification?
Yeah, kind of.
I think they judge women more harshly than men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, is there any solution, do you think, to this sort of societal objectification? I mean, the perception that women need to be beautiful. Like, I can sit here, believe it or not, on rare occasions, somebody says that I'm handsome.
Ew.
I know, you. But if I were a woman, I don't think that would ever happen at my age. You know, so there's definitely there's ageism involved. There's objectification going on. There's all kinds of things. Do you think there's a solution somewhere that we could slowly start to work on?
Well, I think like maybe we should regulate Photoshop in ads, make things more diverse, so people in marginalized group could be treated better. So like maybe they have darker skin, but people appreciate them more. And children also learn from their parents. So if they grow up in a family where parents dress up heavily and do things, filters, stuff, they will learn it from that. So education system should teach children about what standards are good and which one are inattainable or
Unrealistic.
yeah, unrealistic.
Interesting, interesting. Naomi, what do you think?
I think the whole standard thing, I think it came from our mindset that we're taught while growing up with family, friends, and also at school. For example, me, I'm also a victim of my family who keep on telling me that my skin color looked too dark for girls, like that. And also some of my friends, they tell me that I'm not that girl and I don't look like a girl like that. And I think it's from the mindset that I'm living in. And yeah, and now I'm here, I have my mindset of what do I want beauty to mean to me. So I think that we should change on how parents educate their children, because if your parent keep telling you that no, you don't look like your friends, you are supposed to look like this, like that, you're not gonna love yourself. Because yeah, I have had a period of time where I don't feel good about my looks because yeah, my family posts standards on me, and yeah, I escaped that, I would say,
Mindset?
yeah, the darkest thing I've experienced. And now I'm here, I love myself because I think I pet talk myself a lot and I tell myself I'm beautiful. So I think girls should do that too, because some people that don't appreciate what, like, their shape and how they look. So I think they should start telling themselves that and not to rely on how people look at them, but to look at yourself and tell yourself you're beautiful.
I think, I mean, for me, and I'm a guy, so it's difficult for me to speak on behalf of women. In fact, it's impossible. But I would argue that yes, self-affirmation is one good defense. That's, you know, telling yourself that you're beautiful and so on. And the other side is, I think the judgment should come from health standards. I mean, if you're healthy and fit, that should be pretty much the requirement, as long as you don't stink or something, you know.
Yeah, I think like if people follow these standards and they love it by heart, it's good. But if they go outside and they're not doing makeups and stuff and they feel shameful and they feel they're not good enough, that's bad.
Well, think about how guys do it. You know, guys, we can just go out in sweats, be like, hey, yo, you know. But girls don't, and women don't really have that luxury a lot of the time, which is a lot of pressure. Do you think having a conversation like we're having today on camera and sharing it with your peers, it can be helpful?
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of.
I mean, that's one of the hopes. That's one of the reasons we do this, is to let other kids kind of know that, you know, other kids think, there are kids in the world that think like this and they're not alone. So I'm hoping so. And you had mentioned education. I mean, that's kind of part of it from my perspective. The other thing I wanted to talk about today, moms.
Oh.
Moms. Moms. But yeah, women in the workplace, which means moms in the workplace very frequently. I think we all agree that equality for women in the workplace is just should be, right? But it gets a little bit tricky because, especially when women have families, often the role of the mom is number one in taking care of the kids, right? And so the job has to somehow accommodate that. And meanwhile, maybe a woman really wants to focus on her career but doesn't have the supports and so on and so forth. Should women have to prioritize maternal care, taking care of their kids, over career?
Well, there are many opinions. I myself argue that they should decide it by themselves. So many people think that mom should care for their children because children with great family bonds will grow better, and if moms care for them, they will be smarter and love their parents more. But most people argue that we should have equality. So women should work the same jobs, should be able to work the same as men. So they argue that women should also go to work and leave their babies for other people, like the kindergarten school.
Gotcha. So you're arguing for more of a daycare. In Vietnam, you have early kindergarten care is basically what it's called. Which is kind of strange because we're sitting at Kinter Cafe. That made me think. But yeah, that's definitely one angle, especially in Vietnam. A lot of parents, starting at the age of not even 2, kids will, I remember for me as an American, it's like, what? But my daughter started at like 18 months, I think. How about you? What solutions how do you feel about this, and what solutions do you think could be proposed?
Like,
in terms of, you know, should a woman have to prioritize maternity?
I think the same way as Lewis is that the woman should choose whether she likes it or not, but then not be forced or have her mindset affected by the standards that the society set. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, a lot of times, particularly if you're looking at traditional families, you have the housewife, right? And a lot of studies show that having a mom at home with the kid can be beneficial to, it's not the only way, but it's definitely beneficial to the growth of a child. But couldn't we make it a house husband?
Yeah.
Would you be a house husband?
Well, maybe.
Maybe, if your wife makes enough money, right?
Yeah. No, I can make money and care for my children.
No, that's true. Yeah, because you're a computer whiz, so you could just sit on the computer and
Like work from home.
here's the bottle, right? How about you? What do you think? Should there be house husbands?
Yeah, I think there should.
Yeah, I think they should share the work.
Definitely share the work, and I'd like to think that I tried. I mean, I faced them all. I tried. I honestly did try.
I think that now with like my friends, I see that, well, in their family, in my friend's family, it's not housewife, but I see house husband.
That's really good to hear. I really like to hear that. I've seen a little bit of it here. You see it a little bit more often in the West. But it's good to hear, particularly, I mean, Vietnam is still, there's traditional, Vietnamese traditional culture and family culture. I love it. It's one of the reasons I live here. But it's nice to see that aspect of it kind of coming up a little bit, as well as in the West, sort of mirroring each other. Yeah, I've tried. I have to admit, when it came to the early years for Lizzie, ran into a bit of a problem. I remember I tried to change my first diaper, and I'd never done it before, right? And I had Bang Wai, you know, my mother-in-law and my wife looking at me as I'm trying to change. I'm just an idiot, and they're like, "Oh, get out of here!" And they never let me change another diaper. So and part of me feels very blessed that I only had to do the one diaper, and part of me feels guilty.
You should have practiced before.
How do you practice changing a diaper?
Buy a doll.
Yeah.
Actually, there are some courses now.
Well, that's what we're going to be. I'm going to bring that up in a second because I think it's important. I mean, and I was not as helpful as I could have been because nobody teaches boys this stuff. Do you know how to change a diaper?
Yes.
Did you have to do it on your brother?
Yes.
Oh, man. See, back in the 70s, boys weren't made to do that. That does bring up the question, another question, this whole conversation. And I mean, if you look at the sort of the biology of it, the traditions that are based on biology, in the old days, women were the stay-at-home parent. One, because of patriarchal society, there's no doubt about it, but also because they were the ones that could breastfeed, you know. They were the ones that could provide milk. And so in that first year of life, that's obviously very important, particularly 100 years ago. But today, that's no longer true. We've got refrigeration, and we've got dried milk formulas. We've got the option to, you know, store mother's milk and things like that. But even with all that, has evolution made moms maybe a little bit more suited towards taking care of little kids, do you think?
Yeah, I think moms are more empathic to their children.
Yeah, there might be a little bit more empathy there. And in general, we're not saying every mom and every dad. We're speaking in huge generalities here. What do you think?
Yeah, same as him.
Okay, so there is some sort of special mom power when it comes to kids. This is interesting because, I mean, I think that this is true. And again, this isn't everybody. I mean, if you look at history, there are cases of horrible, evil mothers who couldn't care less. And you have super dads who do everything, right? But maybe it is about education, right? Now, I have mentioned to you guys before the idea of like a home, in America we call it home economics class. And when I was young, pretty much it was a girl class. And so you'd learn everything from like how to budget for household stuff and run the household, how to cook, and how to take care of babies and sew and stuff. Do you guys have any classes like that?
No.
The class about the budget things? Yeah, I do.
Budget, okay. How about parental duties? Do you think it should be required that boys and girls learn how to become parents?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think, well, why?
Because it's important. If we grow up not knowing how to do things, then we're not going to care for our children as good.
You'll have Bang Wai come up and tell you to get away from the diapers, like me, right? What do you think?
I think there are all sorts of people. For example, we all study this thing, and let's say a small proportion of them don't want to be a parent, then they can use those skills for something else too. For example, they live alone and they still have to run the budget around the house, right? They still have to cook for themselves, and that might be like really, really needed in some cases where, let's say, you live far from home and you need to manage your money.
I think for me, it would have saved me a lot of money if I had had a class like that. Because in college in America, in university, one of the first things you see is a guy offering you a credit card.
Why?
Because the credit card companies can make money off of you. You're 18, you're away from home, you know, you want to spend money on stupid stuff, but you only get a little bit from home, you know. And so I got suckered into that, and I ended up owing a lot of money and having to pay a lot of money on that when I was younger. So I think the idea of the home, the actual economic side of it, the budgeting, but the parenting side, you know, where daddies learn how to make the formula and put on a diaper, as well as the girls. You know, boys and girls learn this maybe at the age of 12 or 13. I saw one class where kids had to carry around a doll that had like a special monitor in it. Well, actually, the whole thing started with they would have to carry an egg for a week, and if you broke the egg, you had to take it everywhere with you, and if you broke the egg, you failed. And so the egg represented the baby, so you just had to take care of something. Do you think having classes in parenting that included that kind of aspect and included, you know, how to feed, how to change diapers, if everybody took those classes, do you think that this would end up raising the level of equality between men and women in the workplace and kind of cut down on mom's duties?
Yeah.
What else? Well, you have moms, right?
Of course.
Right. Women's Day is coming. What can we do today to kind of help our moms out and give them a helping hand?
No, don't look at me like that.
You were going, oh, Teacher Nathan, you gave me the evil question. What do you think, Louis?
Cook dinner for my mom.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah, boy, if I could get my son to cook dinner, I'd be so happy. How about you?
For me, I am not that kind of child who really show emotion to my mom, and I would do also.
I'm not saying like run in slow motion and give hugs, you know, I'm saying like clean the house or something, you know?
Actually, I rarely do chores at home because like.
Would it be helpful? Do you think we could lighten, and maybe not even for you in particular, but for kids?
I don't know if that would lighten up my mom's mood or made her mood worse, because whenever I touch something, let's say I just touch the table, she would be like, that table is not even clean. You take the blanket and go clean it now, huh? Every time I touch something, that would happen.
I love how your mom ends up sounding like, oh, what's his name?
Uncle
Roger. Yes. Well, that's pretty much our conversation today. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you trying to describe it. I like the idea of doing chores. I like it, you know, because I'm a dad, and I'm just thinking as a dad, I would love it if my kids did chores.
Like for me, if I have a gift to my mom, it would be something, firstly, dumb, surprising. My mom wouldn't expect it. And normally I would cooperate with my dad, who always make me disappointed.
As a dad myself, I can say I am notoriously stupid about getting my wife gifts. I've given up.
Like, I would always have to remind him, Dad, get her flowers. And my dad would be like, huh? Flowers for what?
Well, I'm bad. I mean, I'll be honest. I like that this topic came up for us, because now, with any luck, I will remember that Women's Day is coming. Because in America, first of all, in America, we don't have Women's Day. We have Mother's Day, and that's in May, I think. And so, you know, it doesn't occur to me. In Vietnam, you've got two, right?
Yeah.
2 Women's Days. You've got International plus. And so I notoriously forget Women's Day. But every time I get my wife, I remember I bought my wife earrings once, and they were like expensive gold pearls, that kind of stuff. She's like, oh no, these are old lady earrings. Oh, yeah. And that's sort of like the history of my getting gifts. I'm not good at it. Are you good at getting gifts for your mom?
No. I made an apron out of like old clothes, and she was like, skinny shoes.
Yeah, again with Uncle Roger. Suddenly Vietnamese moms sound like Uncle Roger. We don't know why, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but I don't know why, but Asian mom always finds something to point out and tell us you're a failure. I don't.
But you know, I will say this about Asian moms: you guys have a much higher success rate in life than, say, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids like me.
Wow.
It's true. I mean, your motivation, your academics, everything ends up being better. So something's going right. Something's being done right? But you know, being a mom is a hard job. As I look at the camera, being a mom is a very difficult job, and being a woman definitely has disadvantages in terms of how society does things. And so women, I think, definitely deserve to have a Women's Day or two. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
You're like, yes. We don't face the what amounts to, and it's definitely getting better, and it's definitely not nearly as much as when I was young, right? But there is a certain level of almost discrimination. And it's difficult to be a mom on top of it because moms have to do so many different roles, you know? They often end up being the household accountant, right? Is that true with your house? Is mom the accountant? Yeah. And then I know with my wife, definitely, because I'm an idiot with that kind of stuff. And then, you know, taking care of the kids, plus a job, you know, where dad goes 9-5, comes home. You know, dads work hard too, but moms definitely have that extra whatever it is. So anyways, to end this on a note, a nice note, we should wish everybody a happy Women's Day, don't you think?
Yeah. Happy Women's
Well, let's do it
Day.
together. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Happy
Happy Women's
Women's
Day.
Day.
So long, everybody out there in interwebs land. And see you next time with whatever crazy topic we come up with. Bye.
Bye.